Why does my IP address have a bad reputation? And what do I do? So this is a case where somebody has looked up information about the IP address assigned to their home by their ISP. And it turns out that it has a quote-unquote bad reputation. Interestingly enough, in researching this article, I looked up my own. I've got a bad reputation too. And you know what? It just doesn't matter. Why does my IP address have a bad reputation? And what do I do? Email reputation for your home IP address probably doesn't matter, and having it characterized as poor might even be a good thing. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is AskLeo.com. Question. I've found on Cisco's Talos blog that my email reputation is poor. Apparently my IP address has been sending lots of email, but I haven't. I have several computing devices, Mac OS 10.13.4, Windows 8.1 fully updated, running Avast free with weekly scans and a recent boot time scan, Malwarebytes free with recent full threat scan. My wife uses a Chromebook, up to date. I use an iPad 2 and an iPhone 7, both running iOS 11. Sometimes I use older iPhones, a 4S and a 5S. I have no IoT devices other than the router, a Pepwave Surf Soho MK3. Pepwave says their routers are not affected by VPN filter. I use a VPN most of the time on my portable devices, even at home, but not the Windows machine. Sometimes my Windows machine slows down, then recovers. My Windows hard drive often runs and runs. Other times it times out, as expected. My ISP is Time Warner Cable. I'm surprised they haven't contacted me. Is there something I can do to detect outgoing traffic, including, but not restricted to, spam? I think it's very unlikely you're sending spam. Possible? Sure. But based on your description, you seem to have things well in hand. It's important to realize that you are not necessarily your IP address. It's also important not to read too much into anyone's reputation report. Reputation report. The Cisco Talos Reputation Center is an interesting service. Enter an internet IP address and it will tell you an assortment of information about it, including a rough idea of where it is, which ISP owns the IP address, and more. Here's a look at the reputation of my own IP address here at home. You can see that Comcast is my ISP, that the IP address is associated with Redmond, Washington, about 5 miles south of my location, and that my email reputation is poor. Wait, what? Poor? Yes. My reputation, like yours, is poor, but it's nothing to worry about. Email reputation. If you look more closely at that report, you'll also see that the email volume is 0 and that there's been no spam sent for the last month. The same is true for the report sent with the question. My interpretation of my poor reputation is simply this. Lack of information, i.e. there's no email recorded as coming from my IP address, is a negative thing. That I'm on a dynamic rather than a static IP is a negative thing. That I'm not actually a hosting company but rather an individual home or small business is a negative thing. Looking at it another way, since there's nothing really good to say about my IP address, the default is to classify it as poor. We'll see why in a minute. But I do send email. The most confusing thing is that the email volume shown for the last month is 0. Trust me, I send mail. Between my wife, myself, and others, we send a lot of mail. The difference is that our computers don't act like mail servers. Email from our computers is sent to exactly one location, our email service provider. When we send email using a program on our computers, the program connects to our email provider using the SMTP settings we've configured. It authenticates that we have an account with that email provider. The provider accepts the email that we have to send. The provider then sends each individual message on to its final destination. If you use your web browser to send email using webmail services like Outlook.com, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, or others, your computer and your IP address aren't sending email at all. You're just viewing and interacting with web pages. All the emailing happens on servers belonging to the webmail services. As far as reputation services go, you're not sending email at all, not directly. Your email service provider is doing it for you. It's not your IP address. for long. Unless you've made special arrangements with your ISP, which usually involves paying them extra money, your IP address is dynamic, which means it changes from time to time. When you get a new IP address, you inherit the reputation of whoever was using it before you. Depending on how frequently the IP address changes, that could include the reputation of whoever had it before them, and before them, and before them, and so on. In a world of spam detection and reputation, dynamic IP addresses have poorer reputations because there's less accountability. Any misbehavior you perform on today's assigned IP address could be harder to track down if your IP address changes tomorrow. This is not an issue, though, since you're not a mail server. You're sending email to only one location, your email service provider. It's their reputation that matters. This is why you had to configure your SMTP settings with your account username and password. Your email program has to log in when sending your email to them for delivery. Your email provider needs to know you're a customer and not a random spammer. Even if you do start sending spam, they'll know exactly which account, not IP address, to blame it on. An email server in your home. If you did, indeed, run your own email server in your own home or place of business, the reputation of your IP address might come into play. The servers to which your mail server would connect would use that information to help determine whether the email they receive from your server should be classified as spam or blocked altogether. But you don't run an email server. At most, you run an email program, like Thunderbird or Microsoft Office Outlook or something similar, which is configured to send email through your ISP or other email service provider. It's their email servers you actually use, and they're the ones whose reputation matters. Why poor is good. In 99% of all homes, and probably even most small businesses, email shouldn't be sent from your IP address directly. It should go through your email service provider or ISP. If email did start coming directly from your IP address, that could well be a sign of a problem. Poor is the right way to characterize the reputation. Any email server receiving email directly from your IP address and not another email server should seriously consider treating it as spam. And stopping spam is a good thing. What I do. While all the information about an IP address can be interesting, I ignore the reputation of whatever my currently assigned home IP address might be. It simply doesn't apply, especially when the email volume is 0, which is exactly what I'd expect for almost all homes. If, on the other hand, the email volume was listed as something other than 0, I might look more closely. That could be a sign that malware on my machine was sending email. Even then, I'd reserve judgment and not panic until I understood the situation more clearly. For links related to this article, or to leave a comment, visit askleo.com/47454. I'm Leo Notenboom. This is AskLeo.com. Thanks for watching.